And we've had him in the room before, but it's good to have him here again. Mahmoud Noor is the founder and chief mentor of Swahili Pot Hub Foundation. Mahmoud, good morning.
Good morning, Ndu, and City, and
he's called Mark.
And Mark.
On Tuesday, he's called Mark.
I'll get used to that.
No, you know, I have other names. Like to my wife, I'm baby, honey.
No, we'll not call you baby. Lest we get into confection. Okay. So, I mean, a number of things that we'll be looking at today. You know, we did have a conversation with you, and we're looking at the community, specifically the young people in Mombasa, and what you've been doing with them and the initiatives. This is a follow-up to that, but also widening the scope in terms of really what is possible. And I think that it's such a, ripe conversation when we sit here and we complain every day, which I think we should do, about the things that go wrong. But very rarely do we talk about the folks who are actually righting some of those wrongs. So let's get into it this morning. But first of all, let's welcome you today with today's proverb. CT will share that with you, and then you can tell us how that resonates with you and how you would translate it.
Thank you.
Our proverbs for the whole of this week are from the United Republic of Tanzania. This country is fascinating. It is the most linguistically diverse nation in East and Central Africa. 120 ethnic groups, which means 120 languages. And yet, they speak in one voice.
United.
One voice. It is amazing. If one thought that the issue of the language of Kiswahili was an experiment, well, it's a very successful experiment. Okay. A gentle breeze blowing in the right direction is better than a pair of strong oars. A gentle breeze blowing in the right direction is better than a pair of strong oars.
I think what I understand by that is, however small something is, but it's the right thing, then it's worthy than something else that might be bigger but has no direction, has no positivity. I think it is the atomic things, the small things that we do, but are positive. And I think this even sets the base of the discussion today. There are small things that when we do in our own way, we are 57 million Kenyans, 50 something, right?
Yes.
7 is a good number. Yes.
So if 35 million people are doing small right things for this country, then the country will change.
There you go. And sometimes what you do need is a simple, gentle breeze.
Yes.
Isn't it?
Yes.
Okay. So Swahili Pot has been blowing that breeze. A little gentle breeze has been pushing people along. Let's just look back at some of it and how this all started in the first place, because it then gives us insight into, okay, so how are you impacting lives one at a time?
I think it's a great story. I think we hosted the deputy president, I think 2-3 weeks ago, and when he heard the story of Swahili Pot, in fact, because we met in a boardroom first to explain to him, the young people told him what they've been doing the last 7 years. In fact, after he heard that story, it was almost 1.5 hours ago, we had a bigger gathering out there, including a few politicians. In fact, he said, whatever I've learned here is enough. In fact, we can even skip the other meeting down there.
Oh, wow.
And I felt genuinely that he saw something different, that young people can be doing something else. So I think for Swahilipot, when we started it, one of the key things was building that spirit of voluntary, of serving the community, even when you have nothing. It's about looking at what you have and making the best out of it. And I think that's why for a couple of years that space has run. At the moment, I was looking at the database this morning. The database is around 23,000 young people with a transformation, a reach of around 7,000, and then we have those that are transformed to around 1,500, and then those improved were around 15,000. Maybe I'll explain that in a while. So, but there is a team of around 70 of them that have been walking every day to the hub. Some of them even have been having quarrels with their parents because they are saying, why are you every day going to, they call me mentor. Some of them, majority, everybody in Mombasa calls me mentor. Why are you going there every day and he's not giving you anything? And then later on, I even started forming conversation with some of these parents because I also go out there to talk to them. So I was telling them what is the opportunity cost. Look at what is happening up at Komaskani. Majority are in drugs, gangs. So are you better off with your kid here or coming there and doing something that is worthwhile?
Okay.
So I think that we built a movement of young people who want to give, not necessarily to receive.
Right.
Because a majority want to receive. And Swahili Pot is known nowadays when the people who walk in there are completely different. Even when politicians come, I think it is the only place where nobody will be interested to ask them for
handouts.
For handouts. Or after the meeting, can you leave us something here? They're not interested in that. They want to change their lives. They want to be enabled. And I think for that enablement to happen, it's not only government. It's an ecosystem that we've built. That ecosystem has strong participation of the academia all levels, from whether it is the TVETs, we work very closely with the universities, the religious institutions, private sector are part of it, and then government also.
Yes.
And for us, government is strategic. At times, we might not necessarily expect something from them, but we accept that they will open certain doors and support us in certain ways.
So what happens? I just had a thought, because you talk about so many people coming in different, it's a whole mix. It's like they're being put into one pot.
Yes.
So what happens at the hub every day?
At the hub one, when we started the space, our intention was first to provide a safe space. By the way, I never imagined that it will grow to what it is right now. It was never in my wildest dreams. In fact, if today I leave Swahilipot, ama nipumzike, wajua hakuna mtu ana guarantee. You can wake up today and you hear that I'm gone.
Yes.
I will say that I'm satisfied with what is happening at Swahilipot, because when we started, we just wanted to create a safe space, a place where people can hang out. In fact, that was my intention. Just come hang out, whether you are browsing, whether you are talking, but just be there. But now it has, when a young person walks in, and I think that is what I've been preaching all these years. I want a space where a young person, whether they have dreadlocks, whether they look whatever way, they will be received and taken up to the best space, whether it is the boardroom that I also sit. And nobody will profile them from the gate to the reception and to whatever opportunities that are there. So when this person walks in, he is able to be given options, because what our young people want are options. It's just like when you are raising your kids, you don't have to force them towards a certain direction. As a parent, you provide options to them. So at Swahili Pot Hub, what we do is we give them options and then they come and decide. And recently we've gotten support from Conrad Hilton Foundation. They're supporting our case management program, which is a mentorship program. And one of the things that we did, and it's based on a survey that we carried a couple of years ago, asking young people what they want, and they said they wanted mentorship as number one. So Conrad Hilton Foundation is supporting the mentorship program. So when you walk in, the first thing that we do, we take you through a self-discovery journey. Because we realized if you do not work with the mindset, whether you give the young person 1 million shillings or you give him whatever skills or you give him a job, he will lose that job in a few months because of attitude. You give him money, that money in a few months or a few days, depending on their appetite, it will disappear. So we start, when you come in, we put you through the self-discovery so that we work on your mindset. And from what we've seen, if you have 10 days to work with somebody, I'm better off using 9 days to change their mindset. And then on the last day, the other things they will figure out themselves. So for us is we've just created a pathway, or we call it a youth journey, where we allow everybody to walk. But specifically, because we're also dealing with Mombasa, the transition rate for many years has been one of the worst. So we are dealing with the opportunity youth. We call them, we've coined that name, opportunity youth. Others call them vulnerable, wengine wanawaita majina yote. But for us, we look at that as opportunity. Those who are out of school, those who dropped out of primary, secondary, those who feel hopeless. By the way, that is the target group that we are working with. So when this person comes through the gates of Swahili Pot Hub, once we work with the mindset, then now we look at the different programs. And by the way, we have a lot of programs, including Tujiajiri. Because for us is how do we consolidate, create a bouquet of offerings. For example, the World Bank through Cape Skies and the Ministry of Trade, the national government, they've supported us on a program where we are scaling up startups in Mombasa and the ecosystem in Mombasa. And we're actually supporting startups, early startups. Others have just on ideation stage. Yeah. So we also have the CFYE program where we are giving creatives. We are training. We are telling creatives that you can turn your talent to income.
Mahmoud, this is very interesting, but I have to just step in here because we know that entire economies essentially were built on the back of small business.
Yes.
Right? Yes. Government comes in maybe to facilitate. Government does what government does with the funds that it has. But if we look at some of the largest economies on the planet, on the globe, is that it was small businesses that have come to build those. And I mean, the huge organizations that we see today started off in somebody's garage, for example, or started off in the trunk of somebody's vehicle, and then they got the facilitation to be able to go in a particular direction, which in essence is what pointedly you are doing now. But what I want to ask is that, so this support comes in from different organizations. I mean, which is just the way to do it. I mean, right now it just makes sense. What do you do to ensure that the person who wants to come in and have a startup, it could be anything really, it could be somebody who is deciding that she or he is going to sell fruits, and maybe in a little bit more formal, organized way. It could be somebody who is going to go into coding. It could be somebody who's going to use the work of their hands to do something. It could be somebody opening a salon business. But what would be the fundamental principle to ensure that this business, as you start it, is at the point from its genesis, as it starts to roll out, is actually secure, and that you keep it viable? Because the end goal is for the individual, sure, but the byproduct of that is an economy then that is able to rest on its shoulders.
There's something that we are doing, and we've learned it from we are part of a community in around 12 countries. So, and we try to learn best practices from the different countries. So there's something that we've picked from the community in India, and we're actually replicating it in Mombasa now, where what they did and that is what we are doing now, is we have invested to do a survey all over Mombasa and the greater Mombasa, which goes into Kilifi and Kwale. And what we've done with that is we do research. What are some of the business opportunities based on the dynamics of that area? Once we look at the different opportunities, different levels, there are those that are small, and our target mainly is on the small because, as you said, SME is the future. And then because we are making it easier for a young person who cannot do a survey. So you do the survey on the opportunities that are there. Then what are the things that you need to start these different kinds of business? What are the permits that are required? You also look at the market area. So we've done that, and then we've placed it in a booklet. So rather than the way Kenyans do it, they see somebody selling shawarma and then they also go start a shawarma.
Yes.
What we are doing is to give them a booklet that is like a directory, telling you are in Kisauni. These are the opportunities in Kisauni. This is the amount of money you need to start to do this business. And this is now the other place where you can even get this amount of money. Because, for example, you mentioned Tujiajiri. They are offering grants. So we'll even tell you if you do not have this money, you can go to this organization. Some are government, some are private, and you qualify to get 50,000, 100,000, and even if it is 5 million shillings. Yeah.
You know, first and foremost, congratulations. I always find such stories heartwarming and gives this nation hope. And Ndu has gotten a smile back because she warned us of taking her happiness away. I hope you've gotten some of it back. But there's something you said that has had me contemplating ever since you started speaking. Why are we producing hopeless youth? You're fixing a problem.
Yes,
no doubt. But what in your mind? Because before a youth is a youth, there are parents, uncles, friends, teachers, right? And you talked about people who dropped out in primary, secondary, some who even finished university. There's a mantra I say that Kenya is the only country where a dropout is looking for work, a degree holder is looking for work, a master's person is looking for work, and a PhD person is looking for work. So I keep asking myself, yes, you're solving a problem, but where is the birth of this problem? Is it the parents? Is it our education system? Is it our society? What is it that produces a young person without hope? Because I cannot imagine myself at 18 without hope. I thought I'd drive a Ferrari by 24.
Yeah.
And you didn't?
No, of course not. But I've been near one.
Okay.
Yes.
So by the way, your question is difficult and easy to answer because the answer is all around us. I was brought up in Nakuru. And
same here, by the way.
And all three of you Nakuruites.
Yeah.
Okay.
So was I.
Okay, interesting.
I went to primary school in Nakuru.
So and I normally tell the young people in Mombasa that personally I do not blame them because the environment that we have created is what has turned them to be what they are. I went to a public primary school, Kimathi Primary, then Menengai, and you could see the quality of life in that public school. It was functioning. People at that time, nobody wanted private school. Everybody wanted the public.
True.
I lived in a municipal house. That every twice a week they will come and collect garbage. There was tap water. I have fresh water, so things were functioning. You go to the church or the mosque, everything is there. So if a child is taken care of by the parents, because the parents are not struggling, the economy is okay. So at the moment, a lot of people are struggling. And then, I also do not want to connect struggling and the economy doing badly that justifies you to be a bad person. Because then it means that when I'm in Kibra, because I do not have work, I'm waiting for somebody who was going to carry things at the industrial area in Pigengeta.
Right.
So also the other part is the moral fabric. And moral is not even religion. We have people who do not have religion, but their ethics are very good. So I think we've built a society where things that are not normal, we have normalized them. We live in a society where...
Pause. Rewind selector. Things that are not normal?
have been normalized. So for example, and I think this one, I even had a discussion at some point with one cabinet minister of security a couple of years ago. I didn't give him details, but I told him, I feel so bad that I work with a lot of young people for many years in Mombasa. So during the recruitment of police and army, parents will follow you to tuongeze laki moja, tuongeze hii, because this is what we have to buy this position. And at times it's a conflict even in my heart. Because if you don't give them this money, they're not getting this job.
Yes.
Exactly.
And if it is followed normally, they will never get it. So you can imagine a society where we are buying these jobs. Parents are willing to even put in money to buy KCSE and KCPE
certificates.
So it is a corrupt system. A young person or a young boy and girl nowadays, it's both from home. They are a prey even at home. So it's like from the day you get out of the womb of your mom, everybody around you is a threat. So we have created this. So where do we start? Although I'm not giving a very bad picture.
No?
You're giving a realistic picture.
It's a realistic picture, and I think that, oftentimes we talk about, I'm just going to take a break at this point, but oftentimes we talk about looking for the solution. And in my opinion, if you do not give the true picture of the problem, then we're pretending. In terms of how we're going to then be able to fix the problem. We have to be able to say it as it is. We don't want to hear, for example, that people have to buy jobs. But in order for people to get the jobs, that's what we're talking about today, that you do. That folks will not have a chance in hell of passing an exam because of different factors. Maybe there's no power in the house. They cannot read because it's nighttime. They have other chores to do. They have to go and get water. I don't know where, so they can't read. So what will they do? Watakuja kuomba laki moja so that they can go and buy the job. And that is the reality of the situation. So even as we talk about fixing the problem, we must look at what the problem actually is. Let's take a break on that note. Mahmoud Noor is our guest this hour, director of Swahili Pot Hub Foundation, but we're looking at some of the issues that plague us in community today and how we're going to fix this one problem at a time. And this is the thing that it just so happens, Mahmoud, that you are resident in Mombasa and have decided to take the initiative to start looking at these issues. But if we take a mirror against other parts of the country, these issues are mirrored all over. And so we start to ask ourselves the question, if we can find the problem anywhere that we look, how are we going to start fixing these things one by one?
And I think the answer lies in the individual. I think this is the only country that we have. Earlier I was telling you the other day I was in Shanghai and I stayed there for a week and I was just looking around and I admire the safety. Young people. In fact, I was feeling, even my daughter being here, I have a 15-year-old daughter, I will have more peace of mind than her being with me in Mombasa, and I'm there in Mombasa. I think I've seen
Shanghai is a better parent.
People are creating nations, people are creating cities for their people to live in. But I think what is important is, as an individual, what are you doing? And I think that is what we've shown in Mombasa. And I applaud a lot of young people in Mombasa who are also doing the same. It's only that we do not tell their stories more. If you do the right thing at an individual level, as a parent, how are you raising your kids? How are you behaving in front of your kids when you're talking to your spouse? Because kids are watching. At times we expect these kids to be different, and you are the one who is abusing your wife, you are the one who is attacking your wife, you are the one who are using those unprintable words that watu wa Mombasa saa zingine wako associated now, but I see it's all over the country. So we need to start from the individual level. I will use my example. When I went to Mombasa, I went with the undersea fiber optic cable. I had, personally, my life was comfortable and I could afford even to travel all over the world for holiday. But I made a choice that I'm surrounded by a community that if I don't do something, even my family will never be safe. So I normally tell young people, you see your neighborhood is dirty. Can we organize and clean it up? Because we can't say that it is government, because if you wait for government, you are the one who will be sick. I urge people, can you pick at least one person and mentor them? One person. You can even start with your daughter. If it is not your daughter, then in the neighborhood, can you pick one person and you guide them? Because we have a lot of young people who do not have people to guide. Either they do not have parents, or they have parents who are just parents by name and they are never there for them.
Right.
So we can't blame them. So if we as individuals take certain steps by picking people that we can guide and being good examples. I think number one, even before you guide people, at times when you guide somebody genuinely, it also helps you to start being right.
Yeah.
Because you can't be telling people this is what you're supposed to do, and then tomorrow you are seen elsewhere.
Yeah.
At times it helps you to shape you up
Yourself.
Yeah.
I have a question. He's talked about examples. As we sit here, how many business people can we look up to for starting a business without the help of raiding government coffers? How many teachers, lecturers, doctors are in our list of heroes? When you go to social media, the people who in parliament are supposed to be thinking for us are TikTok stars.
You seem a bit frustrated.
There are a lot of things running through his head.
Yeah.
My pain,
And he's trying to figure out which one to speak about first.
my pain from what you said, you said something very powerful. You said the power of example. I am thinking, when our kids go to social media, when they watch the news and they go to church, isn't being corrupt and being an OnlyFans model the example they're given? Because this society does not mirror morals and proper hard work as examples to these young people. And I'm just wondering, you tell me at 18 to mentor, I don't have an example. Everyone I know is a thief. And when they stole, they became an MP. Stole more, they became a cabinet secretary. When you're a successful journalist, you quit your job to go be an MP. There's something wrong with this country. And I keep wondering, what should we tell our kids?
Mark, the country is fine. It's us. it's us who have a problem.
It's not the land, it's the people.
The country is fine. The country, if you see, we make decisions, we implement things. Okay? You had the discussion we had in the earlier hour.
Yeah.
This business that our politicians want to ram down our throats about focusing on who to blame. Everyone has a role to play. And it can't be that when you can't play yours, you look for someone else to blame.
Yeah.
And you even blame them for you not playing your role. How? That is behavior I expect from a child. In fact, a toddler.
That's speaking a buju buju.
Yes. I expect that. But a full-grown human being, even a parent, even a grandparent, there is a problem. And your reaction to the problem, instead of looking inward and saying, okay, what have I done and what different can I do? Your immediate knee-jerk reaction is to look for a finger, take your finger and to point at someone. How on earth can finger pointing provide solutions?
And I think Mark brought, there's one point that is so critical. It's role models. Not that we do not have role models, but we highlight the wrong ones. The wrong ones are the ones who have a bigger space, and it's amplified more. And partly is also, and I think that's why the root cause is important. You remember there was a survey that was done by, I think, Aga Khan University a couple of years ago, and the majority of young people were saying they don't care how they make it as long as they make it.
Yeah.
Now, that is the society that we are in.
Right.
You see, they are saying it out there. The older people like myself are hypocritical about it.
Yes.
We pretend we are something else, but we are watched. The people whom we are setting an example for and to, they can see what you're doing. So what you say falls on deaf ears.
And then you say, ni God manze.
Yes.
Ni God manze. You know, there's another pain that I've experienced in my career. But I'm slowly going to write a paper on the Gen Z movement. But there's one pain they seemed to have that has not been put to task or brought forward for that matter. It really, really hurts for you to be led by someone who's dumber than you. It's very painful. Because some of those youth are very clever. And then Samido's ex-current whoever who can't explain the budget process, allegedly, to be safe, is a leader.
Yes.
That is an exquisite pain.
Why is it a pain, if I may ask?
You know, the Bible says there are certain things that the earth cannot bear. One of them is when a servant becomes king. Now, it does not say servants should not be kings. But by the time you are a king, you need to be a king. The problem with this country is we've got some ghetto, ratchet, TikTok dancing people in parliament.
Don't say all you think in one moment.
You know, so these young
Maybe the things I'm hearing for the first time. Because when you said ratchet, I immediately thought of the
tennis.
game of tennis. Then I realized that is racket.
my target audience understood me. When that is the example, the person who's trying to do the right thing, think through life, begins to think there's no reward. When you see leaders going into an alcohol store and buying 300,000 worth of King George the Eighth or whatever it's called. This kid is sitting down thinking, I finished my engineering degree. And this person who has a job which they can't figure out is splurging.
Or in the case of like what Mahmoud is saying, is that you have the 20-year-old who didn't finish their engineering degree for certain reasons. Lack of funding, their parents couldn't afford it anymore, they didn't have access to the opportunity that would allow that to happen. So unfortunately, and maybe you can guide on this, is that they make a connection between their lack and here's this other human being who has this. We're not thinking at that point about the route that they took to be able to reach there. All they've connected is that I'm here and I want to be here. Without realizing that, in order to do it, absolutely, there's a journey. So the value that we place on some of these things, then I think is very important to bring into the conversation. Because then, how then, beyond now connecting somebody with startup funds, are we able to start to change mindset? Because if we don't, we're just still swimming in the same cesspool of disappointment. How do we change that? And how have you seen that it has changed through the folks who've walked through the foundation?
Yes, and I think one of the things that we emphasize every day, that other life that you're talking about where people have become millionaires, billionaires suddenly, I normally tell them that is like gambling. It is 1 out of a million. And most of the time it ends badly. Because yes, there are people who see opportunities, because you should also do not discourage people to make money, but it should be legal. You can see an opportunity and you run with it and you become a millionaire. But the majority of those paths are not the right paths. But what do we tell young people? And I think that's why I'm saying we work a lot on the mindset. Because once you work on the mindset, then they realize that from this 20,000, I can grow it into something else. It can be something bigger. By just selling water at the ferry, I can make 500 shillings every day, but I have to toil every morning. But also one of the problems is I make 500. A local Mombasa thinking person, not all of them, will you make 500? You want to spend 700. But the mindset that you are putting into them. You make 500, can you spend 100 and 400 you plow it back. And you move on. So it is a mentality, and I've seen it possible by us showcasing those who have made it. You know, our young people do not want stories ajaba. Wanataka, they want to see
now.
Yes.
So if we can tell more stories of those who have made it legally from humble beginnings, then we will go very far. But also we link this, you know, it's not about the size of the business, the amount of money that you're being supported. It's about the values you attach to it. One of the biggest problems that we have in our times is lack of values. Where even when I'm going to buy something at the local market, they want to tweak the scale so that they give you less. So we really need to push values, because when you push values, somebody will want to take what is his, and slowly you progress and you move ahead. So if there is one thing that probably I want people to take from this interview, is how do we work with our young people to return the values?
Right.
And simple values.
Yeah.
Sisemi ni ya kanisa ama ni ya msikiti. Being honest, doing the right thing. And I think if we reach that level, then we will be very far. But if there are no values, even if we give every young person in Kenya 10 million today, you follow them in a few months, we will never be anywhere.
Mahmoud, let me take you back. You talked about parents briefly. And then there's a story. I don't know whether it's alleged. I don't know whether it's apocryphal or true. That there was a course being offered in Eldoret the other day for young people to learn online conmanship from card scheming, etc. I remember you talked about the role of parents in this whole journey. Then you also mentioned how parents actually pay for KCSE certificates, buy fake, try and get their children to cheat. Please speak to us about now the role of the parent. Because, let me speak in Nairobi, I think most parents nowadays think that your interaction with kids is on Sunday, you're drinking a beer and the kid is in a bouncing castle and you're a good dad or mom. What is the role of the parent to these kids?
Actually, if you look at even those developed economies and countries, one thing that they really believe in, look at the West, they really still believe in parenting, spending time with their kids. It reminds me when we were landing the cable in 2009, and I was hosting my president, the president of SECOM, and then the finance minister, the ICT minister of Rwanda, and Pogisio. He was the ICT minister, I think, at that time. And then, I don't know what happened, and then my president of SECOM learned that my wife is in hospital, expecting our first daughter. You know what he did? He actually told me to drive to the hospital.
Yes.
And he told me, go stay with your wife. Even if we are having very important guests and myself, we will handle it.
Yes.
That family is more important.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that is, I think it is, as long as we do not value family, then we will always have a problem. And you know, when a parent will always want the best for their kids, but you also need to spend time with them.
Yeah.
One of the challenges that we have is we are allowing our kids to be taught on TikTok. We are allowing our kids to be taught online. And what I've seen in Mombasa, and this is how juvenile gangs have come, parents, either they are absent parents or parents who are there but they are not there. You know, you can have a parent, he was always on Mogoka, he has no time for you, or he's too busy working jobs, but forgetting, you know, you'll be working all these jobs, by the time you're coming back bringing money, you do not have a family.
True.
So it's so important that you spend time with the kids, because if you don't, like I was saying in Mombasa, the small boys just guide themselves, and then as they guide themselves, they see there is one who is a gangster and is doing very well, and all the girlfriends want
the gangster
to be with him. So he will be the one who will provide guidance to your kid, because you are not there to provide guidance. If you are lucky at times, there are those that have house helps who are good because they let them stay with the house help.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you pray that you have a good house help.
Mahmoud, let me ask this question.
Yeah.
Mombasa has 30 wards. How do you cascade the concept and the principle of the Swahili Pot? Well, how do you devolve it?
Yes.
So that, irrespective, whether you're in Jomvu, whether in Mwakirunge, wherever it is, okay, whether you're in Likoni, young people have an opportunity to actually find a safe space where they can actually come into their own.
So there's something we are calling the Youth Hub Network. At some point, a lot of young people, I think a couple of years ago, I think 4 or 5 years ago, when we were meeting during the International Youth Day, they were complaining to government, why don't we have a Swahili Pot in our areas? They were thinking that we are government. So out of that, I learned something, because I normally do not believe in telling people to do something for us. We now started identifying which are the spaces that young people hang out in the larger Mombasa, which goes into the 30 wards and also Kilifi and Kwale. And we find that all these young people in Mwakirunge, for example, are attracted here. And the reason they are here, it's either because there's a CBO or there is a soccer coach who puts them there. So we identified these areas. At the moment, we have around 45 of them. So if it is a registered organization, then we enhance that organization. If it is not registered, we help them to register it. And then now we cascade everything, and I'm happy that we got some support from Imaginable Futures, where we will actually be supporting these centers with a minimum of around 300 to 500,000, because there's somebody who wants rent to be paid for that space. Another one wants internet connectivity. Others wants processes for them. So for us, what we are calling the Youth Hub Network is a way of us cascading what we have, that model down there. And then we also have a couple of young people, and I'll mention my photographer is called Kevin. Kevin comes from Shauriako. Why Kevin inspires me is when I picked him to come and started taking photos of me. Nowadays he takes photos of all the people that you will never imagine. He's traveled out of the country as well. But he's actually went and duplicated Swahilipot at Shauriako.
Wow.
Including the departments, including everything. And I think that is what we really want to be done. And maybe lastly, on the same question, we have a partner that loves the Swahilipot model, and they have put us together with NCCK because they thought NCCK has all these properties all over the country.
They do.
But when they come to Swahilipot, it's any time you come to Swahilipot, you'll find most of the time hundreds of young people around there. So they're saying, what is this? As it's attracting young people. But when you go to these other centers, there's nobody. So for the last 1.5, 2 years, we've been working with NCCK for them to understand the model. And the intention is to replicate it in even other counties. And that is our hope. But what I've been telling them, yes, we can replicate it, but we need champions.
To what end? All these things, the changes, what do we want to see as a finished product?
I think a transformed society. I say this is our country. You can earn 10 million shillings a month. But as long as everybody around you is angry and hungry, you will never enjoy
You'll
it.
never enjoy
You
it.
will actually not be safe.
Yes, and even your kids will be taken over by drug barons and gangs.
There's a saying, it's called private opulence amidst public squalor. By the way, Ndu, even as we get almost to the top of the hour, I want to speak to the politicians who are listening and other political types who come to this show. We would like for once to interview you and feel and think the way we feel and think about what you're doing. Congratulations, sir. And that is an example of how leadership should be done in this country. And you're an engineer, right?
Yes.
So it's not social work.
Indeed.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, it's very clear that it's possible to change one human being at a time.
Can I have a last word before the top of the hour?
Yes, you
Real
can.
quick,
In
yes.
fact, have to.
No. There's a saying that we've been pushing for the last couple of years. We're saying Kenya is not Nairobi and Nairobi is not Kenya. What I will ask you, Spice is a very popular show, especially the morning one. Can we also get stories out of Nairobi? I think it is easy and convenient to get people who are in Nairobi, but there are very good things happening all over the country. I was in Dadaab yesterday at the refugee camp, the municipality. We have young people, we have women doing a lot of good work, but nobody knows that there are good things happening in the country. So I think if you can say for every 10 people, you also get watu wa mashinani.
Yes.
We have beautiful
Mahmoud,
stories.
just
Indeed.
like we've invited you, invite us.
Yes.
Mahmoud Noor is the founder and chief mentor at Swahili Pot Hub and Foundation. Thank you for being here today. Definitely things that we need to continue highlighting, and we'll see you in the very near future to continue highlighting some of these issues. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.